The summer of 2023 was said to be my first vacation in more than 5 years. After being overworked and underpaid in the news industry, I decided to go on a solo vacation to the Caribbean, Jamaica to be exact. I had just turned 25 and followed many solo travel content creators on social media and the many beautiful cultures and experiences they got to immerse themselves in, which inspired me to do the same. I flew into the airport just outside of Kingston, Jamaica around 3 p.m. on June 27th. After I deplaned, I made my way over to the baggage claim area. As the minutes ticked away, I watched all my fellow passengers collect their belongings and make their way towards the exit downstairs. After about 20 minutes of waiting, no more bags came out and the machine shut off. Bewildered, I made my way over to the baggage customer service area, where 3 employees were loudly laughing and speaking to each other in their native English-based Creole language called patois. "Hello," I began. "I'm Nicole Moore. I just got off flight 3701 from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm wondering where my bag is." They all looked at me with a very irritated look on their faces for interrupting their conversation and horseplay. "Name?" one of them barked at me. "Nicole Moore," I repeat to her. After a minute or two of her typing on the old school gateway computer, she tells me, "Oh, your bag is going to be delayed. They'll have to bring it on the next flight from Charlotte." "Okay, when will that be?" I ask her. 24 hours from now," she answers matter-of-factly. 24 hours? I exclaim, perplexed by the ridiculous length of time. "Yes," she replies, emotionless. "We only have 1 flight per day coming in from Charlotte to our airport." "How am I supposed to get my stuff? My hotel is 2 hours away." "Someone will bring your suitcase to your hotel," she says as she shoves a long form to me across the counter. Just then another woman behind the counter says something to the customer service woman who I was speaking with, and they both begin to scream with laughter. When they stop laughing, the customer service woman tells me, "Fill out this form with your name, phone number, and personal details, and list out as many things as you can remember about the contents of your suitcase and what it looked like." "All right," I say with an exasperated sigh. Once I finish the form, I hand it back to the woman, and I head over to get in line for immigration. After I make it through, I head outside and walk over to the cab area. A cab driver approached me. He was a 6'5" black man and had on a yellow shirt and white shorts. "Hello, pretty lady, I'm Sean. Are you looking for a ride?" he asked me. Yeah," I said nervously. "Come on," he said. I cautiously followed him to the old beat-up cab, which I could tell hadn't been washed in months. "No bags?" he asked me, confused. "No, they got lost," I say with a hint of irritation. "Ah, I see. So what's your name?" "Nicole." Beautiful name. "Listen, I have a lot of junk in the back seat, so you can ride up front with me." Once inside, I noticed an odd stench inside the car, almost like a disgusting mix of sweat and mold. "So where you headed?" he asked, interrupting my thoughts. "The Emerald Bay Resort," I told him. "All right, it'll take us about 2 hours to get there." "Okay," I said excitedly, anxious to get to my resort and start my long-awaited vacation. We sat in silence for a few moments before he began blasting reggae music. About 15 minutes into the drive, he slowly turns down the music and asks, "So, are you coming here alone?" Yeah, I say to him. "You didn't want to come with your boyfriend?" Sean asked me. My heart skipped a beat at this question. I hadn't expected such personal questions from a stranger. "No," I replied, trying to keep my tone neutral. "I'm traveling solo." He nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. "That's brave of you," he replied. "Not many girls have the courage to do that, especially none as sexy as you." I forced a smile. "Yeah, well, I wanted to get away for a little while." As we continued on, I would look out of the passenger side of the window, and out of my peripheral view, I began to notice that every so often, Sean would glance over at me and stare for a few seconds. I pretended not to notice and just acted like I was preoccupied on my phone, but he just kept staring. The rural area that we were driving through was nothing but wide open grassy fields and winding roads. Suddenly, we turned down off the main road and headed down a side street when Sean asked me, "Hey, do you mind if I make a quick stop?" "No, I really need to get to my hotel. It'll only take a few minutes. I just need to get some money from my cousin's house. I really need it now to pay my rent, and I never come this way." Feeling defeated, I reluctantly agreed. "Okay, but please make it quick," I said, trying to hide my growing unease. As we pulled up to a rundown house in a sketchy neighborhood, Sean turned off the engine and stepped out of the cab with his keys in his hand, leaving me alone in the sweltering heat with my window cracked. As he walked up to the shoddy-looking house and knocked on the door, 2 big burly men answered and peered into the car, staring at me for a few moments. My heart pounded in my chest as I watched him disappear into the house, leaving me feeling vulnerable and exposed. I had no idea where I was. My phone had no signal since I was in a different country, and I didn't have international calling on my phone plan. Suddenly, one of the big burly men who answered the door came outside and asked me, "How much?" "Excuse me?" I said to him, baffled. "How much do you charge?" He asked me more aggressively. My blood ran cold as I realized what was happening. Panic surged through me as I struggled to comprehend the situation. It was becoming increasingly clear that I was trapped in a dangerous situation. I don't understand," I stammered, my voice trembling with fear. "I'm just a passenger. I don't know what you're talking." "Don't play stupid with me, girl. How much to see what's up under that dress?" His temper grew worse with each passing minute. "I'm not that kind of girl," I said firmly, my voice trembling with anxiety. "I don't know what Sean told you, but I'm just a traveler trying to get to my hotel. You think you're too good for us, huh? Come on, girl. Don't you want to make some real money?" I felt a surge of panic rising inside me, but I knew I had to stay calm and focused if I was going to get out of the situation unscathed. With trembling hands, I reached for the door handle, ready to make a run for it if necessary. To where, I didn't know. But before I could act, the door to the house swung open and Sean came out, a satisfied smirk on his face as he walked back to the car. "All good, baby," he said casually, oblivious or perhaps unconcerned to the danger that I was in. "Let's get you to your hotel." We drove in silence for the next 30 minutes or so, my mind still racing with all of the events of the day. I had a raging migraine and desperately wanted to make it to my hotel in one piece, as fast as possible. As we drove on, I was staring straight ahead at the road when out of nowhere, Sean kissed me right on the lips while he was driving, nearly swerving off the road and into a ditch in the process. "What the fuck are you doing?" I blurted out instinctively, equally confused and disgusted by his blatant disregard for my lack of consent. My reaction seemed to catch him off guard, as he jerked his head back and swerved back onto the road. Sean began, I thought you wanted me to." "No, please just take me to my hotel safely. How much longer do we get there?" I asked with as much firmness as I could muster. 90 more minutes," Sean answered softly. I let out a sigh of exasperation. About 10 minutes later, Sean blurted out, "So have you ever wanted to be your own boss?" "What?" I replied. "With that soft brown skin and curly hair and sexy body, you could be out here making some real money and never work another 9 to 5 again." I ignored him. A few minutes later, we drove to another Skid Row looking street filled with people openly doing substances and homeless people as Sean creeped to a low speed. "Why are we stopping here? I need to get to my hotel ASAP," I screamed at him, completely done with his antics. Just then, Sean pulls out a weapon from under his seat and warned me, "Don't you ever raise your fucking voice at me ever again, bitch. We'll be there in a minute. Give me your purse," Sean tells me in an icy tone. Without hesitating, I obediently handed over my purse, which had my wallet, keys, and phone. After I sat there in silence for a few minutes, holding back tears, 2 women who were wearing nothing but bikini tops and short shorts approached the car, both handing Sean stacks of cash. "What the fuck is this?" he yells at one of them with blonde hair. "That's all I've made so far, Daddy," she replies sheepishly. "Get your ass back out there. And if you don't bring back all my fucking money, your dumb ass is sleeping outside. You got that?" The terrified young woman nodded her head and told him yes, and Sean sped away. Finally, roughly 3 hours after Sean took me from the airport, we finally arrived at my resort. Before letting me out of the car, Sean warned me, "I know where you're staying. If you say a word to anybody about what you saw today, I'll come after your ass." "I won't," I promised him. He finally unlocked the car door, and I broke a nail opening the door as fast as I could, and Sean narrowly missed hitting me with his car as he was leaving, but I still managed to take a mental note of his license plate. I immediately went to the front desk to report everything I had witnessed that day, and the lovely receptionist quickly called the police, who were able to run the license plate, which came back as stolen. Officers told me that a man was carjacked for his cab out of a parking lot at a popular shopping mall near Kingston, where they were able to identify Sean, which wasn't even his real name. Apparently his real name was Delroy, and he was already wanted for a string of car thefts, substance dealing, and human trafficking, among other charges. The police were able to track his location the following day from my phone that he stole from me. On the second day of the trip, I finally got my suitcase, and eventually the police were able to retrieve my belongings by the 4th day of my 5-day trip. Delroy was eventually sentenced to 25 years for all of his crimes. I still cringe when I think about what could have happened to me being around such a dangerous and ruthless criminal.